So here we are, chapter 2, Freedom from Fear. Hard pill to swallow that hard pill to swallow that evening. As my Sam pinpointed, the event of the fall, the desperate plea for the calling of 911, the meaning that I wasn't able to protect my mama from injury, the hopelessness of having no hand or say so, if my mom was to be okay or not, the reenactment of my mother taken via gurney out to have her head seen with severe contusions, it all mimicked and recalled my most dreadful and horrifying memory. This fall revived in me many feelings from the same vein as my childhood trauma of her domestic abuse. The event, a memory that closed my heart, the event that unconsciously rewired me to become a protector and a provider rather than a loving human being. The event, unbeknownst to me, had me forfeit the loving, nurture, beautiful woman I was to be for a protective justice seeker. Although I have exhibited those characteristics to some extent, my primary identity has been that of a protector and a provider. That event placed me in survival mode. Until the beginning of this year, I hadn't quite been able to see it. I hosted a workshop in Brentwood, California in March 2025. In the workshop, I shared how I was baffled by how people would complete a course, a workshop, or a session and say, I got it, I'm good. They run away stating that the bit of clarity has it all makes sense and they are now free. I poked fun at such a concept because I have been doing this work for 22 years. And it wasn't until the month before, in February of 2025, that I started to feel that I was peeling back and away from being in survival mode. The vast majority of us humans, even when we are immensely successful, we still tend to live in a state of survival mode characterized by fight or flight responses. The truth is, as humans, we want to feel okay more than we wish to actually be okay. Feeling is more of an ideology where actual emotions are the definite state of an authentic state of being. Feelings can be created by ambience, by an experience, a lie we tell ourselves to cope, manage, or make for a moment. Emotions are undeniable and deeply rooted in our nervous system, our heart, and our mind. Emotions rule us, and we have best dealt with them collectively by burying them, oppressing, repressing, numbing, detaching, ignoring, and depressing them. If we can feel okay, that feels as if it's as good as actually being okay. The challenge is that we then deny ourselves the opportunity to live from death and compromise our being to an external surface existence. I'll say that again. We compromise our being to an external surface existence. I was, by nature, created to be loving and nurturing, feminine. However, due to an interpretation of an early childhood event, I began to live under the assumption that it was best for me to show up as a protector and provider for my mom and siblings. This concept and form of thinking was the meaning I took on from fear of avoiding ever witnessing a loved one being hurt or in danger. It eventually evolved into being protective of anyone who was in threat of danger or being injured. As I write this, it becomes clear why Revelation 21 3 4 has always been my favorite passage in the Bible. Just this year, I began to see myself operating from a conscious state as my nature versus operating from my subconscious state of being. We cannot manage or control what we are unaware of. If anything, what we are unaware of will run and control us. As Carl Jung's quote states, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That evening, as my daughter served as an observer to so many of my blind spots, I began to sense the unraveling of all the trauma and its gradual and subtle harmful behaviors. thought processes, and pain that I had been avoiding to face head on. I could once again allow my pain to remain unconscious and let it direct my life with all its detrimental effects. What effects, you may ask? As the week progressed, there were many, deeply woven in what is my way of being an unconscious operating. I will elaborate on some of these points on the following pages for now. I want to share how clear I can see how often I have run from this memory, this monster, a demon of fear, and therefore, by default, allow it to run my fate of my life. So, I just want to take a break right now and make note to something. When we numb or just kind of like, yeah, it doesn't matter, it happened in my past, I'm over it, it is what it is, we like to think that it really is over. But when you look, if you ever decide to become emotional intelligent, highly aware of yourself, you're going to see all the ebb and flow of all the different things of how you are, how often it is linked to something that was heavily, intensely emotionally charged for you, that you saw as something that you don't want ever to happen again. And so you're not actually free. And here's the other thing. I'm not saying that we have to go around like healing all of our life. I always say have big goals, big dreams, and in your quest for that thing of conquering that big goal, that big dream, these things that are limiting the expression of your power will show up. And at that time, it's important to face them head on and heal them. Because if not, you never really are living a true existence. And also, the more that you do it, the more that you build the capacity, the resiliency, the strength to deal with this. When I was writing this book and I was in my room for a week, my daughter would, hear me cry, just, be aware. And then I'd come out and I'd be smiling and I'd be okay. And I was very raw and very vulnerable. But nonetheless, I remember her saying, Mom, like, I can remember though I was a child when you went through a lot of your healing with SA, and like it's night and day. You just like bounce back. Now, have you then the actual nervous system release that has happened the last 5 months have been intense. But nonetheless, I can look back. My SA healing started around 2008, 9, when somebody in my studio was abused as an adult. It's quite a story. And that revealed a lot of the essay to come up, but I wouldn't actually start really facing it till like 2010. It came up again because something major happened in my life, but I really didn't like face it head on till 2013. And then it took about 2 years to really become liberated. So if you look at that trajectory with what this is, it's such a big difference, and the capacity that I'm able to do it, the difference, it's just majorly. So I just want to kind of share that as a note, as a reflection. So picking up again. Okay. That evening, as my daughter served as an observer to so many of my blind spots, I began to sense the unraveling of all the trauma and its gradual and subtle harmful behaviors, thought processes, and pain that I had been avoiding to face head on. I could once again allow my pain to remain unconscious and let it direct my life with all its detrimental effects. What effects, you may ask? As the week progressed, there were many, deeply woven, what is my way of being and unconscious operating. I will elaborate on these points on the following pages. For now, I want to share how clear I can see how often I have run from this memory. This monster, a demon of fear, and therefore by default, allow it to run my fate, my life. I know I'm kind of repeating a little bit of what I read before. My intention in sharing is that it may liberate you or awaken you to realize that not choosing to heal, grow, and evolve is to choose limitation and to be the vessel and carrier of whatever it is that underneath the surface haunts you. Some people live out the full expression of the gift that they are. Actually, only about 5% of the world's population does. Now, most will think that being in the top 5% means you are here to discover electricity or build the next invention like planes and cell phones or such. Not at all. By living a fully expressed life, I mean a life where you are genuinely and authentically fearless and unconditionally love yourself and those around you. Now, what you decide to do with your life is separate from simply being in the full expression of your being. Like the full expression of your being, like love, power, calmness. The list is endless of what it is to be in our being, as we are all unique in our traits. Looking back, I can see the different times that the domestic violence memories came up for healing, yet how I unconsciously swiftly suppressed them under the rug, as they say. My nervous system obviously found it best to repress such memories deep into my cells, my soul, my being. We all tend to do this, whether we are aware of it or not. I will share from the first emission to ones that lead up to this one, where my mama ends up in a gurney and I am here, either committed to deal and heal or once again deflect. First time my domestic violence experiences came up for healing and how my brain quickly intercepted facing it. The year was the end of 2014 or the beginning of 2015. It was a Wednesday evening. The kids headed out to grab takeout dinner, and I jumped in the bath with some social media entertainment to decompress from the day's work. I came across a post that was blurred, stating graphic content, and I had to click to approve its display. The caption read something to the effect of, "This is why I no longer believe in humanity." It was a post from one of my cousins in Mexico, and I wondered why my cousin was saying this. I was not prepared to listen to what I was about to hear. The post was a little boy calling 911 in fear of his dad or mom's significant other beating his mom. During the call, the operator is attempting to obtain an address, which will provide an idea of their location. The boy, being very young, is unable to offer concrete directions or an address. At one point, he steps away and then comes back to plead for assistance. The operator continues to question him in her attempt to locate him. When you all of a sudden hear the most painful cry and desperation as he states, "He killed her! He killed her! My mom is dead!" The call ends, and so does my sanity. I started heaving and uncontrollably crying. A part of my brain recalled a thought that one of my coaches had taught me. You don't necessarily hurt for others more than it activates a hurt that you have had yourself. Keeping that thought in mind made me realize that I myself am feeling the pain for something similar that has already happened in my life. And this boy is not experiencing pain at this moment, as this is a playback audio from an event of the past. That thought allowed me to avoid having a psychotic breakdown while still crying uncontrollably. 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 I heard the car pull into the driveway, so knowing my kids were coming in, I quickly got out of the shower and tried drying myself. My son came to tell me dinner was here when he saw I was breaking down. He naturally started to hug me to console and support. I pushed him away, yelling, "Don't touch me! Don't touch me!" I screamed as if I was witnessing bloody murder. His look of disbelief and confusion haunted me for years. Though in that moment I was lost in the stored pain that was demanding to be felt, the mother in me was aware of the pain and confusion I was causing my son in that moment. He didn't understand my anger or what felt like rejection, as we had never experienced anything like this. I started to breathe. I quickly thought, oh, it must be from sexual abuse that I'm responding this way. I told him, I will be fine. Just go with your sister and eat. I rushed to my bedroom, attempted to call two friends I knew could help me get grounded, but there was no answer. I quickly started getting dressed and headed to church service, which was on Wednesday nights. For almost 10 years, I thought my response to my son from the sexual abuse I had lived. It wasn't until September 2024, during the resurfacing of my domestic violence trauma, that I realized, and it had me recollect, that this bathroom event of 2014-15 was never about the sexual abuse. It was about the domestic violence I experienced. Made sense looking back. The Facebook post was an audio recording of domestic violence. As I meditated in September 2024, I connected the dots. How my brain, in its infinite wisdom to keep me safe, lumped this memory with something that was already out in the open. Why open another wound when we can avoid it? This bathroom event marks the first of several other avoidance events to follow, where I unconsciously avoid dealing with this pain. In working with over 10,000 clients over the past decade, one thing humans tend to bypass is actually healing from the root. We often rush and deceive ourselves into thinking we're good. We believe awareness is healing, and it is. Yet, it is a limited version that I mainly experience from an intellectual standpoint, rather than from the heart and mind. To truly and deeply heal, we must absorb, chew on, digest, and integrate it, what it all means and how it affects our way of thinking, processing life, feeling, and being. Once we acknowledge the effects, we can then decide from a conscious state what changes they bring for a more mindful state of living, freedom, from a state of living from consciousness and not your past. Yet, as I stated earlier, in our quest to feel okay rather than actually being okay, we will most often abandon in depth healing, which is necessary for true freedom. We cannot control that which we are unaware of, and so it will control us as a result. We think, sorry about that. Okay. Sorry, you guys, I lost it. We cannot control that which we are unaware of, and so it will control us as a result. We think we are clever and avoid feeling what we unconsciously deem unnecessary pain, yet it therefore stays lurking in our everyday lives. The pain and the unconscious commitment to prevent the pain weave itself and permeates in our persona at levels we can't begin to imagine. We brush it under the rug by believing we don't have time, it doesn't matter, it's in the past. We have bigger things to worry about. This is an example of why unhealed pain and unprocessed trauma keep being inherited, passed down. Our pain and limitations get passed down and live on to the next generation. This is why similar challenges often plague families, and the love they experience is frequently superficial for many. This is why we have diseases at levels and ages never seen before in history. Dementia at 40, cancer at 4, mental health is rampant because we keep avoiding taking the time to feel the pain of grieving a loved one that has passed, to face our hurt from a failed relationship, to mourn the loss of our childhood, or simply said, live and feel and be. I want to take a really quick pause here. The other day, I was doing research in the English Journal Medical, and it was saying, and I'm not going to say the exact numbers because I can't remember and I don't want to misquote, but I forget how many generations. I want to say it was 50, but something that was lived by our ancestor lives in the expression of ourselves from many, many generations back. And that is now being confirmed by medical records research that is being done. So, whether we want to or not, acknowledge a lot of the mental health crisis that we see and in as the collective sometimes can be made fun of the younger generation, they're just a product and expression of everything we have chosen not to deal with. The effects of domestic violence would resurface again in January 2017, February 2020, and have me out for 3 days in my bed, horrified. Each time I mustered my mind and shifted to my strong suit, moving forward. Again, it resurfaced in September 2024. And the last time, I told myself it was significant that I would eventually have to take some time to address it. From that resurfacing of September 2024, I would swiftly address the times the feelings had surfaced in the past and tell myself I would soon address them when I had time. I started to connect the dots from like these different years, and I was starting to say, oh, this is a monsoon going on within me. Okay, so I would swiftly address the times the feelings had surfaced in the past and tell myself I would soon address them when I had time. I have a business to attend, people to help, and responsibilities to take care of. That's the thing. We keep putting off actual living, feeling, and being for those lofty goals that in the end are simply distracting us from real living. We run from the pain that ultimately buries our gifts, our calling, and stifles the full expression of what our potential and possibilities are because we unconsciously expend our energy suppressing, repressing, and depressing the very things we need to heal to be free to live in the present. This time that my mom fell, I chose to heal myself. I decided to hold space for myself, to create a listening ear and heart for all my soul was burdened with. I just didn't expect it to be so much. um, I decided I too deserve the love and care I so freely and at times sacrificially give to others. Whether it's a client or the many random people in public I serve, as my daughter so observantly has pointed out. Thank God my daughter sees it as my way of being, nature, and does not resent me for it. I chose to trust that I can take care of myself, heal myself, grow myself, and be supported as I do for others. Taking 3 weeks off and clearing my schedule, canceling my appointments is something I only do if I'm ill and sick. That is the actual challenge. We can even call it a problem that often requires us to be out of commission to take time for ourselves. The right to exist is elusive. For the great majority, we must work, perform, provide, produce to exist. If we work hard enough, we can then take a vacation or two. Hence, the limitation of the mind begins. Programming and conditioning come into full effect, and the concept of finding a purpose, your purpose to live for, to produce is born. I am going to share a secret. You are the purpose. I'm going to say that again. You are the purpose. There's no purpose for you to find. Being free from pain and limitation allows you the freedom to now actually exist in consciousness instead of merely perceiving it. We are consciousness, and when we are living from higher consciousness, we produce, perform, and work at levels rarely seen. Greatness is in all of us, not just a chosen few. Clearing our survival mode to an extent that you know you are the purpose, you are power, love, and light, will have you create lives, marriages, partnerships, children's, jobs, careers, inventions, and creations deemed impossible by most. All that I have made in my courses, trainings, workshops, and programs has liberated so many and helped them build, in many cases, epic lives. For some, simply more joyful and peaceful lives. That realization has made me understand why most people think shifting the Schumann resonance, meaning creating peace on earth within our lifetime, is ludicrous, especially when we tap into current events and what is happening locally, nationally, and globally. It seems crazy to most to believe in peace. With the people I have served being one of the few exceptions, they can see that we can shift the state of our world because of their personal experiences. They may think that they never thought they could be anxiety free, or reconcile their childhood, or set wild goals that they are now living. So they can see it. If it's possible to multiply these benefits to more people, then yes, we can shift the Schumann. However, I'm familiar with the law of physics. I know we can never take anything or anyone further than we have taken ourselves. We can never take things or others to the depths we haven't mastered ourselves. It is why I know diving into healing in this part of my life is essential, not just for me, but for us all. I love the sentiment whose author I don't know who to credit, yet it says, greatest gift I can afford others is to take care of myself. Greatest gift they can afford me is to take care of themselves. Care for myself, I will. It has now been a week since I decided to take 3 weeks off to heal and nurture my heart and mind, and to address what has been deeply stored in my body, my physical being. My mind and heart have been in what I believe to be free of pain and limitation for a while now. From that coherence, so much good has come for thousands of people. Yet, as I reflect on the amount of crying, sobbing, and pain I have released this past week, actually 6 months now, I can see how obstructing my body, my nervous system, has been to my calling and desire of my heart to see the masses free. I'll say that again. As I reflect on the amount of crying, sobbing, and pain I have released, here it says this past week, this past 6 months, I can see how obstructing my body, my nervous system has been to my calling and the desire of my heart to see the masses free. It becomes clear why the spirit of freedom and liberation has been dwarfed by us all. Many of us are unconsciously living in a state of survival mode due to the constructs and ideologies that have shaped our existence. It is only when mind, heart, and body are in coherence that the spirit can come alive in full force. I love the poem Our Deepest Fear. Specifically, the line, as we are liberated from our own fear, our present automatically liberates others. As I do for myself, I do for others by setting an example for those around me. This time, I am taking time for myself and all that I serve and touch as I go through life. We are one. As I reflect on this experience over the coming weeks, little did I know, months, it has had a profound impact. When we light ourselves up, we serve as a candle to light others. It provides a guide for them to make a significant leap forward. We serve one another when we are open and share. I have always believed that we can shift the Schumann. God put it in my heart. However, today I don't believe. I don't have hope or faith. Today I know we can shift our lives. We can move the Schumann. Yes, we can. It starts with me fully liberating my emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual being. I declare the words, as above, so below. Let the peace and happiness reign. Enjoy this beautiful poem by the author, Return to Love, Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frighten us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. Oh, And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our present automatically liberate others. So the next chapter will be under the rug. But again, that is just, when I wrote this here, I thought, okay, I'm good. And little did I know, mentally I was good, spiritually I was good. Even in my heart, I long time ago, even with all the healing that I have gone through, I haven't had to deal with like resentment or anger at my parents or different things, because that pretty much was healed a while ago. But the emotional charges of the experiences lived were stored in my body and my nervous system. That's a lot of, I've learned so much, and I'm so excited. Um, Having been a yoga instructor for over 20 years, I preach about the SOAS before. Now I see it everywhere on social media, but I was talking about the SOAS 21 years ago, to my clients in my yoga studio. And just so many things. I've always known that the body really needs to be loved on and needs to be able to release the contractions that are there from decades ago. When your heart contracted in fear, there is still echoes of that in your body. And that affects your nervous system, and that affects your perspective and your ability to have vision. And so, as much as I had already healed, my body was not at the level of healing that my mind is healed. Like, people know, people that I work with, the depth that I can take someone is so high. My heart, my spirit, just all so high, as far as like the work and the capacity that I've earned to really heal and to grow, and to not even see it as something to forgive. That there's nothing to forgive. Being a human is messy, is what I've come to really know. Not glossing it over, not Stockholm syndrome, but really, like, I really sat with it and healed it, right? And yet the body was not in coherency. The nervous system was not there. And so I'm actually looking forward to some of the work that's going to come from me moving forward. So I hope you enjoyed this chapter. The next one is Under the Rug. I'll see you on that one. Bye bye.